I want you to cast your mind back to 2021. It's the middle of quarantine and you're sat rotting in your room. So, with nothing better to do, you decide to open up TikTok. And the first thing you see on your For You page is this.
I was busy thinking about
The My Hero Academia fandom has always had a bit of a reputation. Maybe the worst reputation of all anime fandoms, to be honest. It's up there with things like Hazbin Hotel and Rick and Morty in terms of how toxic and cringe it can be, which is kind of crazy. Now, most of this comes from how the fandom behaved in its prime, which was late 2019 to late 2021, and it's significantly chilled out since then. However, most people still associate it with how it was in the past, and there's still decently large parts of the community that still act this way. One of its main problems was how absolutely insane people got about shipping. If you had a different opinion on who should be with who, you would get a death threat. Now, I want to make it clear that people can ship what they want as long as it's not, illegal. I don't care if you ship Izurocha, Bakudeku, or two background characters that have never met. I really don't care. It doesn't matter how cringe it is or if it's canon or not. I think that as long as you're not trying to force other people to like it too, then you're good. The problem arises when people do try to force their opinions on each other and can't seem to grasp that people like different things. I've also seen people lash out at the creator of MHA, Horikoshi, about the ships not being canon, which is pretty pathetic. Although I did say that most of the bad things the My Hero fandom did were from 2021, the shipping wars are definitely still happening, and I think a lot of it started up again recently because of the extra episode dropping. But even worse than the shipping wars was people sexualizing the underage characters. For most of the 8 seasons of MHA, the main cast of characters were high schoolers, being around 14 at the beginning of the series. You'd think that people would be normal about this, but no, that never really happens. The amount of creepy fanart I've seen while researching for this video is actually horrifying. The only saving grace with this is that a lot of the people creating and engaging with this content were likely teenagers themselves, as MHA has a generally younger viewer base, given that it's a battle shonen set in high school. There were still a lot of actual adults doing this stuff though. Like, there was this woman called Erin Clover who would draw this thinly veiled self-insert OC of herself to ship with Bakugo. She also apparently drew some dodgy stuff that I'd rather not talk about. I feel like people talk about how bad the MHA fandom is a lot, and nothing I've said so far has been particularly groundbreaking, but I never really see people talking about why it turned out this way. Like, why did My Hero Academia specifically amass a fandom like this? I feel like there's actually a few reasons, and some are more obvious than others, so I kind of wanted to talk through my thoughts on this. Firstly, like I said earlier, MHA had a mostly young teenage audience who aren't too familiar with fandom etiquette yet, so they are more likely to get over emotionally invested in stupid shit and then lash out about it when it didn't go their way. This was made even worse by the fact that MHA was often recommended as a gateway anime, so a lot of these new anime fans went in expecting things that you're realistically not going to get from a battle shonen. Like, this is going to sound so made up, but I swear to God it's not. When MHA had just started to get popular and I hadn't watched or really even heard about what it was about yet, I was about 12 and there was this boy who sat next to me in one of my science classes who was absolutely obsessed with it. He would always talk about Deku and Todoroki in a way that made me think that they were actually together in the show. I didn't really question this until a few months on when I actually started watching it, and lo and behold, they were not together, he was just delusional. A lot of the fandom's problems came from issues that were in the show itself. Like, the show did sexualize its underage characters. The main difference was that the show sexualized the underage female characters, while the fandom sexualized both the male and female characters. Both are bad, by the way. The fanservice in MHA is nowhere as extreme or frequent as the fanservice in something like Fairy Tail or One Piece, but the fact that it's underage characters being sexualized just makes it worse. This also kind of leads into the issue of how the female characters are handled in general. I've seen a lot of people argue over how well the female characters in MHA are written, and to be honest, I don't think it's great. MHA has a real problem with character bloat. There's too many characters and not enough time to give them all satisfying arcs. This led to a lot of the female characters just sort of falling at the wayside. Uraraka, who's meant to be the series' female lead, gets less development and contributes far less to the main story compared to side characters like Kirishima or Ida for most of the series. Nejire, who's part of the big three, has almost no relevance aside from participating in a beauty pageant, despite Tamaki and Mirio having their own in-depth arcs. I could go on, and I actually might end up doing a whole in-depth video on this topic, But the result of MHA having a poorly written female cast is that a lot of people, mainly women, are not going to gravitate towards them, and they're not going to like ships that they're involved in. So this is why, in my opinion, most of the popular ships in the fandom were between two guys, because the male characters, and therefore their dynamics, get way more depth and development, and you can see this phenomena in a lot of other anime as well. The final reason for the fandom being the way it is isn't actually a problem with the series, it's more of just a side effect of when the show came out and how it's framed. MHA balances its battle shonen aspects with its more slice of life parts. So we end up with this ensemble high school based cast that people can easily feel like they're actually friends with. So lonely kids in quarantine would watch this show and form parasocial relationships to make up for the lack of human contact they were getting. It's actually pretty sad. There are some other problems as well, like how the show dips its toes into political issues but never fully addresses them, but that's a bit too much to get into right now, so I will leave things there. My Hero Academia was just kind of this perfect storm for creating a toxic fandom, with its writing issues combined with it getting popular during COVID, so I can't really say I'm surprised that things turned out this way. If you did enjoy this video, I would very much appreciate it if you did like and subscribe, but that's all I have to say for today, so I hope you have a good rest of your day.